Hi, I'm Amy Stewart. I'm a writer and an artist. When I'm traveling, cityscapes and street scenes are my favorite subjects to sketch. Whether it's skyscrapers and taxicabs in New York or a charming little village in Europe. I just love drawing these places where people congregate, and the architecture and the street life gives you a real feeling of that particular place. But in order to capture all this activity quickly, it really helps to have a basic idea of how perspective works and also when it doesn't work. So in this class, we're going to start in New York. You know, I love these shots looking right down the middle of one of New York's busy avenues. New York City is fairly flat and the streets are pretty straight. That means that it's the perfect place to study simple one-point perspective and get it right. So New York is going to be our laboratory for learning the one skill that you really need to be able to paint a street scene, and that's perspective. We're going to work out how to identify your horizon line and your vanishing point. We'll see how all the lines in an image like this converge to that vanishing point. We'll start a drawing by laying down some perspective lines to help guide us, and then once those guidelines are in place, I think you'll be surprised at how quickly you can create an accurate drawing from there. If you can get this piece right, you can be really free and loose with your drawing and painting after that by nailing the perspective, by making sure all the major shapes are in the right place. Then you're going to set yourself free and be imaginative and playful with everything that comes next. So this is easy to learn and it's fun to practice. But there are those times when the rules of perspective just don't apply. Take a look at the beautiful French village of Cambo-les-Bains. It can be tricky knowing how to handle perspective in a scene like this, where the road is winding and also sloping. The regular rules of perspective just don't apply when it comes to charming little French villages where nothing's level and nothing's straight. So we're going to work on just measuring and learning how to eyeball the angles and proportions to get everything in the right place. I'm going to show you how to use different types of lines to make the buildings feel real, even when we're just doing a quick travel sketch. And finally, we're also going to look at using strong light and strong shadows to give the scene depth. Depth is so important when you're trying to convey this idea of things going off into the distance, which is of course what perspective is all about. So if you tend to shy away from scenes like this, where there's a jumble of buildings and rooftops and doors and windows all at different angles, now's your chance to learn how to handle all of it in a way that's quick and lively and authentic. And then we're going to make one more stop in Italy. If I could be anywhere right now, I'd be in Italy with my sketchbook. The light is breathtaking, the architecture is gorgeous, and really everywhere you look is another painting. But sometimes it's a lot to capture all in one small sketch. So now that you know how to work with perspective or a lack of perspective, and now that you know how to give a scene a sense of depth, we're going to look at getting all those beautiful details right. This scene has lots of stonework and tile roofs and flower pots draped over the stairs and gorgeous light and shadow. It's exactly the kind of scene you want to be able to capture and remember. But to do that quickly is going to take a few special techniques. So we'll use what we've learned about getting the major shapes in place with perspective and measuring and proportion. And then we're going to use wet into wet watercolor techniques to capture the feeling of stone and tile without actually drawing every single stone and every single tile. And then we're going to use wet over dry techniques to add in shadows and a few bright colors and other small details. The whole idea is that you get the major shapes and the light and shadows right, and then you simplify everything else. So in order to do a scene like this, it just helps to have a little bit of a plan. So we're going to make a plan and start painting. Travel sketching is such a fantastic way to really observe the place where you are and to capture memories to bring back home with you. And if you start practicing now, you're going to have a whole lot of new skills to take with you on your next trip or just on your next walk through your own neighborhood. So, all right, let's get started.